Hey everyone. Okay, so if everything should be working properly now, and I should be able to be heard. And I don't think I'm going to keep up the 10-minute live stream of me figuring out why my mic wasn't working. So, if you're just joining, thank you. Hi. Um hi. So today I kind of was playing around and I was like, why don't I live stream me braiding my hair today and kind of just giving me something to do? Um, and that way I can, kind of see, excuse me, that way I can kind of just gauge, sorry, I'm not, my brain is all over the place, but I'm trying to figure out this microphone issue. But that way it kind of gives me something to do while I'm doing my hair. And I usually like to record and like create a proper video for you guys, but I want to see how this live stream goes, see if you guys like this format, and then I'm also probably going to crop this down and like make it a proper video, but I'll let y'all decide if you would like to see something like that. If you're not interested in seeing it, then I'm not going to do it. But yeah, so this is kind of everything. I am going to be doing some boho braids today, and my boho braids are going to be kind of a modge podge of stuff. So, like this video, also, sorry, so this stream that will inevitably be a video is really a challenge for myself. If you're a natural girly like me, if you wear a lot of protective styles, then you know that you have a box of hair that is just like, oh, well, I didn't use two-thirds of this pack. I didn't use a third of that pack. I got a fourth of a pack of this laying around, right? And if you're me, that just compiles very quickly, especially if you like wearing protective styles. So, because I do, I was like, let me go through my box and just try to make a hairstyle out of the hair that I have in my box. So, I have three different colors going on over here. I have some curls from a pack of hair I'm pretty sure I bought over a year ago at this point. Don't even have the original package. They're just kind of in a rubber band. But that's all set up on my little rack over here that you guys can't see. And that's what I'm going to be doing today. And that's how I'm going to be using the rest of these random packs of hair to get my hair finished. So I'm going to be braiding my hair. I'm going with big chunky boho braids this time. I already did a video for you guys on my tiny boho braids. So I'm going something chunkier and hopefully something that I can get done in the next like 5 or 6 hours because I definitely have something to do tonight. But I figured I could, come on here and hang out with you guys a little bit. If you're wondering about what I'm using, everything is going to be in the description. Or if you ask me directly, like if I see it coming through chat, I'll be sure to stop and um, answer your questions as they come. But also, we're going to be watching some videos and we're going to, just kind of watch those together while I do my hair because this is normally what I would be doing anyway. And we're going to, dive in with some of my favorite creators. So let's go ahead and start looking at the video. So let's see. I think I'm going to start with this view. If you guys don't like this view, if you would like me to be bigger so that you can see what I'm doing with my hair, again, let me know in chat and then um, I will, switch the views because I have this view and then I have this view. And then if you're just not interested in watching what I'm watching, then we'll do this view. But the first video I'm going to start with is from one of my favorite creators, Mike from That Chapter. So true crime videos, and he does now have a true crime podcast, which I'm obsessed with because Mike likes to keep his YouTube videos in like the 20 to 30 minute range, but he's like made his podcast episodes like 45 minutes to an hour, which is like more my jam. So I absolutely, absolutely love his podcast. So this is not a plug for Mike, but I do really like him and I do admire the way he tells stories. So we're going to start with his video today, which is Son finally got revenge after years of abuse. Chris Sutton. And I do not think I've seen this video. Um, I do watch a lot of Mike's videos and I've been subscribed to him for a very long time. So there's a possibility I've seen it, but I don't believe I have. So we're going to go with it. And we're also going to go ahead and get started with my hair. And oh, and we're doing knotless boho braids today too, if I didn't say that. So let's go ahead and get going.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this whole video, we have a case that's from Florida, because, you know, why not at this point,
Florida.
So settle in. And for this story, the year it is 2004. The place, just around Miami. And the who, be not the band, be the family. That's John, Susan, and their 2 adopted children. And for them, life was good. They had success, they had love, they were living in Florida. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, right? And you know what that means. Each day is better than the next.
I will say, as I now live in Florida, as I am a Floridian, as my mom likes to call me, there is so much better. It is so much better. So let me get that straight. When I say there is so much better, I mean there is so much better outside of Florida. I honestly can't wait to leave Florida, but the biggest problem is I love my job. If I didn't love my job so much, I would have been out of here. But my company's amazing, and if they would just, start being jerks, maybe I could leave. But yeah, I'm probably not going anywhere anytime soon. Okay, back to Mike.
Wait, certainly is in this one, because it is a story of hitmen, of alibis, of grudges long held, deservedly so. Maybe we will see. We will get into it. You know what that means. Like when I say we will get into it, I clearly mean,
Ooh,
let's give it a go.
I'm so sorry. Let's give it a go. I also love how he says let's give it a go.
Just outside of beautiful Miami lies the city of Coral Gables. It's in the Miami-Dade County area, and it's just a few miles south of downtown Chester Brown. It's home to approximately 50,000 people, I'm told. I did not count them.
That's actually something else
Coral
I like
Gables,
about Mike
you'll
too.
find
I
the
like
University
his
of
sense humor,
Miami,
especially
some
'cause
beautiful
we're covering
Mediterranean
like stuff
style
that's really
architecture.
heavy.
One
And
hell of a murder
he has
mystery
a
that we
very,
will, put on our
appropriate
little
sense of humor.
G-string swimsuits and dive into. But also you'll find lots.
I love how
and
as soon as I said that,
LOTS,
he
my
brings up a
friends,
G-string.
of rich folk. Yeah, you heard me right. Dollar bills, folks, and riddle me this. If you were so inclined to, be in some form of legal trouble or issues, well, who would you call? Who are you gonna call? You're gonna call the Sutton Law Group, headed by one John Sutton. They were operating out of South Miami and had been established in 1985. A small firm, boutique is the word, small but selective. They wouldn't take on, any old chancer who was walking through the door. They weren't ambulance chasers. They would take on cases that, were high profile, sometimes international cases. And the firm was headed up by John Sutton, licensed to practice since 1972.
Okay, so John's kind of old.
On the 22nd of August 2004, John and his wife Susan were celebrating in their home in Coral Gables. A beautiful home with a boat out back even. Whoa, they got a friggin' boat! And Susan, it was her birthday. She had just turned 57 years of age. Spirits were high, and an added bonus was that the Sutton Law Group had just won 3 big cases. Susan herself, she worked as an office manager for the firm. Good times all around. John and Susan had been married since the 70s after meeting during a blind date, getting hitched just 1 year later.
Okay, can we also talk about how, dating now is trash. Dating now is absolute garbage. And, there's no way in high heaven I would agree to go on a blind date in 2023. I guess it would also depend on who set up said blind date, but I'm just I am also messing up my hair because I didn't braid that correctly. Oh well, but I don't know. This is not going to become a video on how much dating sucks, especially dating in your like mid 20s. If you guys would like a story time of like my horrible dates while trying to date Florida men, I would happily do that for you guys because it's funny. It's funny. We are all allowed to laugh at my trauma. It's totally fine. All right, let's go.
Susan was head nurse of a surgical intensive care unit before giving up her career when her and John adopted their first child, Christopher.
Okay. Well,
They were over the moon about it. John and Susan, they desperately wanted to have children, but for one reason or another, they simply couldn't. So when they finally, were able to adopt Christopher at 2 days old,
okay.
pure joy. And then 7 years later, they
Mike,
adopted
already
another
told me
child,
that Chris is the
Melissa,
bad guy.
and they
So
were a
what?
very happy
What's
family.
going on?
They were having an intimate little party at the house to celebrate Susan's birthday and also the success of the law firm. There was John, Susan, Christopher, Chris's girlfriend Juliet, and John's law partner and close family friend, Teddy Montoto. John and Susan's daughter, Melissa, was away in college upstate at the time, ready to start the semester, so she couldn't make it. Though she did call to wish her mother a happy, big ol' happy HB. The party ended early enough. Chris and Juliet, they went out to catch a flick at the local cinema. Teddy, he went home, he went his separate ways. John sat down on the couch, started watching some telly. While Susan, she was in the bedroom on the phone, various people calling to wish her a happy birthday. A quiet end to a nice night. Though the quiet wouldn't last for long. Hours later, John called 911. He was barely conscious.
Call Gables 911.
I need police. My house. I've just been assaulted.
What happened, sir?
Somebody came in and shot me.
They shot you?
Yes.
Who did it?
I don't know. I can't see.
Oh my
I
god.
need police and I need an ambulance.
Okay. Where did he shoot you?
My head.
Are you bleeding? Do you see any blood?
I'm bleeding all over, yes.
Okay.
I can't see.
Who else is in the house with
My
you?
wife is,
And where's she?
I don't know.
In the middle of the night, someone had came into their house and shot him twice in the head. How he
In the
survived is
head?
simply a miracle. He managed to stumble outside into the arms of, the paramedics who had raced to
Wait,
the
he
scene.
lived?
John was then taken away.
He lived? I wonder. Oh wow. I wonder if Mike is gonna get into this, but like I wonder if like maybe it was a small caliber gun and it didn't pierce the skull. But also maybe unfortunately, my man is just gonna die in a couple of hours at the hospital. Ah, that sucks. That's so scary.
And it was in fact SWAT who entered the house because the paramedics couldn't go in because due to
Oh,
the
that's
911 call,
dangerous.
essentially they didn't know if the shooter who had done this was still inside the house. So
That's
a
dangerous.
SWAT team had to go in, into that very quiet house, clearing it room by room and eventually getting to a bedroom. Susan, she often slept in a spare room. John, he was a snorer, and this time she was in the spare room. They almost didn't see her. They walked in and they could just see a lump under the blanket. Susan was there. She was found with the blanket, like she was trying to hide under the blanket
Oh,
from whoever came in, but it didn't work. Susan,
bro, that's actually like real life. Like, as somebody who takes in a lot of true crime and has a true crime podcast too, actually, the honestly one of my biggest fears is being in my last moments on this earth and doing it in fear, like being afraid that I'm gonna die, and it's that's just so sad, man. Like I know it's like based on the title, it does seem like they were abusive. Like he's saying that there's gonna be some allegations of abuse, which trigger warning for that, for everybody. But like, I don't know, man. Just like there's very few people. Like I just don't feel like anybody deserves to die like in fear. You know what I mean? Like, and you're like, you're free to disagree with me, completely free to disagree with me. I don't know. I go back and forth on that sometimes, but that's scary.
She'd been shot 6 times. She was
Overkill.
dead, and beside her lay
Overkill.
her phone. She'd been on the phone, talking to somebody about her birthday when someone came
So
in.
we have a witness.
The first thought was like
So we have a witness.
an attempted murder suicide, right? As you would in a lot of these cases, John took out a gun, he shot his wife, and then he tried to kill himself. But John,
He shot
he'd been
himself
shot twice in the
twice.
head, but he'd been shot a number of times in the hands, as in defensive wounds, trying to stop the bullets.
Oh,
So,
shoot.
that him doing it was quickly. No, someone had
Yeah.
come in, and a broken latch was found in the rear of the home. Though what was interesting is that the killer would have had to walk through pretty much the entire house to get to John and Susan, yet nothing was stolen. Nothing was ransacked. There was like diamond, jewelry just laying out there in the open, and it still lay there when the police were checking it out.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we see in these cases, they, John and Susan, the wealthy, successful, generous couple living in a beautiful and safe neighborhood, had a target on their back. And now we got a real whodunit and a why'd he do that, with John laying in intensive care after taking 2 to the head.
I still can't believe this dude survived.
The first port of call was, naturally, who John Sutton ran into on a daily basis. Lawyers can make enemies, suing, settling, and there's usually a loser at the end of the day. One who may end up owing a lot of money or even be in prison. And John was a tenacious lawyer, and so people who ended up on the sharp end of his stick may have wanted to know where he lived and taken revenge on him.
But here's my question. Even if that's the case, does John, and I could have just missed this, but does John do criminal law or does he just do civil? Because I know he was saying that they weren't ambulance chasers and they weren't ambulance chasers and they weren't these people who just, tried to get everything they could get out of like people. But did he do did his firm do civil and criminal law? That would be my only. I think that's something we got to figure out because I don't know of many firms that handle, like, I guess, like private firms that handle civil and criminal. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, obviously. But, yeah.
One woman had just previously threatened to shoot up his law office after losing to him. Well, now it seems like maybe
that answers that.
Most people have no
Devin,
clue
just
that
keep
in
watching the
2023
video.
the best way to make money on Amazon is not.
it wasn't just them out. Maybe
with your
they
scam
weren't going to
ad.
just threaten, they were going to do.
Which, actually,
now, Susan
quick rant.
was gone, and John, he was in.
Quick rant. And then I'm actually going to go back a little bit to give Mike his proper ground to speak. I'm so sick of seeing these, like, clearly, in my opinion, scam ads. Like, telling people that if they just do what you do, that they can be millionaires. I just hate that. I do, because it just feels like you're just trying to get me to go. You're trying to get me to click on your little website and, go to a link to some course that you've made that is probably full of information that I can get on YouTube for free. And, just take advantage of vulnerable people. Like, those ads, those really piss me off. And, YouTube's really cracking down on ad blocker at this point, so I'm not using much of it anymore. So it's just the whole thing. And I could literally be the only person who cares about this, but it bothers me. It really does.
His law office after losing to him. Well, now it seemed like maybe someone wasn't just them out.
But also, this is another thing too. PSA to all you lovely people. Don't threaten people. Don't threaten to shoot anybody up. Because if something happens to that person, you are now suspect number 1. But 2, it is just so immature, in my humble opinion, there's really, in my opinion, very few conversations that can't be solved with a discussion, with words, with being an adult, being mature. Okay? This whole, like, I'm gonna come shoot you up, like, sweetheart, grow up. Like, grow up. Oh, let me turn this back on. Haha.
Maybe they weren't gonna just threaten, they were gonna do. Now Susan was gone, and John, he was in intensive care, and he couldn't speak. In fact, Chris, the son, obviously, who was rushed to his dad's side, he wanted his dad, John, listed as John Doe on the hospital records in case the hitman, fucking Terminator style, tried to come into the hospital and finish him off. So they couldn't tell the police much about what had happened. But remember, Susan had been on the phone at the time of the attack. Somebody had been on the other end of the line and heard shots, perhaps ring out.
Say who was on the other end of that phone?
It turned out that she had been on the phone with Teddy Montoto, the family friend. Even after the shooting, Teddy had raced to the house armed with a pistol, obviously hearing and then fearing the worst. This was something the police instantly took an interest in. He was questioned, his hands tested for gunshot residue, his own gun tested, and then he was let go. But one thing they did learn about Teddy, kind of like a by the by, Teddy had been having an affair with Susan. So
God dang it.
That's not.
God dang it, Teddy. Like, I was just about to be like, look at Teddy, stand up dude running in to go check up on his friends. You in here sleeping with this Teddy. You were supposed to be the chosen one. I had so much faith in you. For some reason, I don't know, I just thought you were a good Samaritan since you, like, ran over, like, guns blazing. So, I need to go get another clip. I might have to take a slight break to go get a different clip, because this one's not working.
Not good. The police, though, were really just waiting for John to wake up. He had been put into a medically induced coma as they had surgery after surgery on him, shot twice in the head. He's lucky he could walk at all, you know what I mean? Right. But they were just waiting for him to wake up, so hopefully he could say something. He was the only witness to what happened. Witness what happened would sadly be the last thing John ever saw. When he awoke, John was informed by doctors that not only was his wife gone, but that he was blind in both his eyes. The bullet had entered his right eye, it had destroyed his right eye, and then continued and cut the optic nerve in his left eye. And all John could say was he had seen the guy. He was dressed all in black with a visor over his face, so not much. John would move in with his son Chris and Juliet, and later they would all move to the main family home, no longer a crime scene. And the investigation, which was stretching 2 months long, continued.
I mean, but at least he survived.
Eventually, after combing through mounds of evidence, I'm talking, interviews, phone records, the whole kit and caboodle, they did come across one little thing that piqued their interest. On the 22nd of August, the day of, Chris Sutton had made about a dozen calls to a guy named Garrett Kopp. Now, that's a lot of phone calls, and it just seems to be, when you're talking about the day somebody broke into your parents' house and killed them, and you're talking to somebody quite a lot. Why? Chris was even speaking to Garrett an hour after the shooting when Chris was coming out of the cinema. So who was Garrett? Well, he was a frequent caller to the house. He was a friend of Chris, so, okay, nothing too weird there. He had helped out around the place, and after the shooting, Chris said even asked Garrett, would you go into the house and rip up the bloody carpets where, both my parents had been shot and one of them killed? Garrett did. But Garrett had also been in some trouble, namely, one day after the shooting, on the 23rd of August, he had gotten into a physical altercation at some apartments, and he'd pulled out a gun. He was charged with aggravated assault. And when he was taken in, booked, and the gun taken off him by the police, the investigators in the Sutton homicide and blinding would learn that that gun was the very same type as the one used to kill Susan and blind John. After the arrest, the police kept the gun, so they could test it, and they learned it was the exact same gun. So now they had their suspect and their murder weapon. But Cod A on scale, what is the story here? What did Chris know? Did he know? Garrett had called him right after. Well, Chris had been a troublemaker growing up. Plenty of vandalism.
This is so stupid to me because it's like, and I watch a lot of true crime. I'm not saying this from like outside of like just my watching of true crime and just watching how people get caught. Why the hell are you communicating on a cell phone an hour after you've murdered two people? Why? Why did you think that was a smart idea? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. So, I'm also messing up my hair over here, but it's fine. It's all right. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be May.
He was sent off to boarding schools, but was kicked out of each one. He had some run-ins with drugs, arrests, and eventually, with seemingly no other options for him, John and Susan took an extreme course of action when he was 17 years old. They ended up sending Chris across the Pacific to Samoa, to a place called Paradise Cove.
Oh no.
There's a roll call going to class.
They're going to class?
Yeah.
And that's a roll call.
That big fella's at school.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
Now, Paradise Cove is one of those youth camps troubled youths are sent off to. Think of those things where, you know, these guys come into your house and then they drag your kid kicking and screaming out of their bed in the middle of the night, send them off to Utah to be processed, and then to the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Who are you? Get out of my room. Get out of my room so I can talk to my mom.
Dude, and I hate this. I do hate this because like these camps have a history of abusing your kid. Like, these don't help anybody. These don't help anybody. Nobody's like, oh my God, yeah, this camp is the best thing that's ever happened to me. Like, I've seen I've even stumbled across like reviews of these camps, like when I was researching for a different case, and people being like, the amount of trauma they put on my kid when I came back, I fully regret doing this, and now my kid hates me. And it's like, yeah, I would hate my parents too if somebody came in and kidnapped me and sent me to some work camp basically. Yeah, I would feel some type of way. Yeah, I would harbor a lot of resentment towards you because I'm your kid. Like, what are you talking about? And then and it's just not. And again, like, these camps are just not safe. They're just not safe. They're not good for your kid. Like, yeah, it's just not. This is not it. This is not it, Chief. Don't send your kids to that crap. Send your kids to therapy. It's cheaper. And that's another thing too. These camps are like $25,000. They're so much money. They're an astronomical amount of money for them to kidnap your kid and then not give them food and water and shelter and just not take care of them. So you pay this astronomical amount of money to get your kid to come back and hate you. Like, send your kid to therapy. It's cheaper to send your kid to therapy. Just do that. Just do that instead. Please.
Going on. We need you to get up and get dressed.
Why are you guys here at 5 in the morning?
It was practically a prison. You slept on a mat in a crowded room. It was
Yep.
all male. There were even arrests of some of the people who ran these sort of camps.
Exactly.
You know, there was a lot of
Those
abuse
people
happening.
be
Duct taping
abusing
their
those
mouths, hog
kids.
tying kids, and much worse. Physical and sexual abuse also occurred. The U.S. State Department would investigate and basically...
See, this is what I'm talking about. Because those people be abusing your kids. They do not care about your children. They do not care about their welfare. They do not care about any of that. They are abusing your kids. So don't send your kids to this stuff. Like, literally, like, if your kid is really like going through some stuff, your kid is like kids don't just kid there's no in my opinion, there's no such thing as like bad kids, right? They're always bad for a reason. Either there's some kind of trauma there that's like not being dealt with, or they're just like, they might be having a mental they may have a mental illness, they may just be hormone imbalances. Like there's always, in my opinion, 99% of the time, there's a reason your kid is acting out. And shoving them off to this camp full of people who don't care about their well being is not going to help them. I just don't feel like it is. And I feel like you are setting yourself up to be hated by your kid. That's just how I feel about it.
Basically say, don't send your kids here.
Yeah.
It's a prison. It may as well just be a prison. If you any acting out, they will come down on you like a ton of bricks. You know fucking about with these places and how they treat kids. But I should probably just mention this also. One of the deciding factors for John and Susan was that shortly before, Susan was cleaning young Chris's room and she found a handwritten note detailing about how Chris wanted to kill his parents, John and Susan, to get the inheritance. So, I mean, get him the fuck out. Christopher was sent at 17 years of age. He was kidnapped in the middle of the night by strangers, taken out of his bed, and sent away in a plane halfway across the world. And he was there for almost 2 years.
2 years?
I've been begging you to get me out of your parents.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in the same spot as them. But I don't know how I feel like you guys told me I feel like I get with you. I'm still thinking with you, but I don't even know if I want you guys to know.
But when the family went to visit him after a year,
whoa, that's wild. How could you do that to him? Like, how could you do that to your kid? Not him specifically, because obviously, again, according to the title, he's the one who did it, but like, how could you just abandon your kid for 2 years at this camp and then hope that he's gonna get better? Like, in what world is he gonna get better? If he's already wrote a note about wanting you dead, you think that this is going to help him? Like, based on what? Why? Oh, Jesus. And obviously this is not victim blaming because he shouldn't be doing it. This case is so complex because I have strong feelings about it. But this is not victim blaming. This is not saying that they shouldn't have done, they should whatever that, anything like that. But it is saying that I don't agree with the parenting style. I don't agree with doing this to your kids. Like, period. Point blank, period. Even your kid, unless your child is like legitimately the spawn of Satan, which at that point, go call a priest. But I just can't, like, I just don't think that, like, I can't see any reason that justifies leaving your kid in somebody else's care for 2 years. Like, it's the 2 years that I can't get behind. Like, I'm not supportive of these camps in general, but I'm definitely not supportive of you abandoning, because that's what that feels like. Because it's like, just like he said, it's like, I feel like y'all just threw me away. And he's already adopted, so he already has trauma from being adopted and being abandoned by his mother, I'm sure. And you guys just threw him away. Ugh, dang.
year. Brand new shampoo. Chris was a new man. He was tanned. He was buff. He was a proper gentleman now, They turned him into a good person. You don't want to know how. But he seemed happy out. Though when Chris turned 18 years of age, legally an adult, Chris thought, hey, I'm out of here. I'm an adult.
Yeah.
No.
What?
Not quite so. It turned out that John had signed a court order forcing Chris to stay until he completed the course. Which would...
So you're also abusing your role as an attorney. You're abusing you're abusing your role as an attorney. Because what? He's an adult. He's an adult. And like what purpose? What purpose is there to keep him out there for for another year? Like if he's apparently he's this like, he's gonna completely turn his life around and he's a completely new person. Why does he have to stay out there another year? What on earth? What on earth? What did you and godly, and there's so much abuse that happens in those camps. There's so much abuse that happens in those camps.
Could be, practically another year. And as you can imagine, Chris was not best pleased about hearing about this.
Of course not.
Chris was 19 years old when he came home. And now a blind John Sutton was living with Chris, whose best friend may have blinded him and killed his wife. And Chris's good behavior from the camp hadn't lasted. Him and Garrett sold drugs and did all sorts. It's pretty insidious. Garrett was eventually brought in, and he caved. He told them Chris had ordered him to do it, or else Chris said he would come after him. Now, the cops didn't exactly believe that Chris would come after Garrett if he didn't do this. But being the mastermind, sure, why not?
Did he formulate this plan, or was it a combined effort between two of you?
He did.
What plan did he tell you? What did he want you to do?
Go in the back door, walk in, shoot.
Garrett copped to everything. That he and Chris had met in juvie. That Chris was to pay him $100,000 for the job. Though wait, on one side he said he was forced to do it, and then he said he was paid to do it.
Yeah.
Which wasn't Garrett, come on now. He said Chris and him spoke about what he was to wear, that Chris had bought him the black outfit, told him that the back entrance to the house was the easiest way to get in. Chris even traded to get the gun for him. Garrett was a high school dropout. At 20 years old, he had no education, no steady work, a criminal record, and a baby. That's like, kind of starting out on high difficulty mode.
Damn.
He was a deadbeat drug dealer like Chris, and it was a get-rich-quick scheme for them both. Garrett didn't give a shit about Chris's parents, he was just in it for the money. Now, there actually was a precedent, though, for Garrett turning on Chris as he did in the interrogation, and telling the police everything instead of keeping his mouth shut. See, a few years previous, Chris had given Garrett drugs to sell. And Chris had even set him up with the client to sell too. But that person turned out to be an womp undercover cop. Not only that, the drugs Chris had given him to sell were fake drugs. So Garrett didn't do any time, because after all he was selling fake drugs, but you can see how that would plant a seed in Garrett's head. Now Chris would say he never intentionally set him up, but who knows what Garrett believed. And that would be a grudge he always held against him. Garrett Kopp was arrested and charged with first-degree murder.
Yep.
On Chris, though, they had nothing. That was until they spoke with Juliet, who told them that, Chris was planning something like this for some time. Juliet told the police that revenge and greed were on his mind 24/7. He hated his parents viciously and constantly spoke of how they owed him and how he would get them back.
Ooh, child.
And John was then told that the person he was living with, that the person who was taking care of him, his son, his own son he had raised since he was 2 days old, was a killer. Chris was arrested and he too was charged with first-degree murder. Possibly, it would be a death penalty case. Garrett would plead guilty and agree to testify against Chris Sutton in exchange for a 30-year sentence. In July 2010, Chris and Chris alone stood trial for the murder of Susan Sutton and the attempted murder of John Sutton, his own parents.
Hold on.
Garrett would plead with
I was talking and I missed that.
Chris was arrested and he too was charged with first-degree murder. Possibly, it would be a death penalty case. Garrett would plead guilty and agree to testify against Chris Sutton in exchange for a 30-year sentence. In July 20...
Okay. I get, right, that you gotta get the big fish in the pond. I get it. I truly do. But it always frustrates me when we give a pass to the person who pulled the trigger. Okay? Yes, Homeboy orchestrated it. Yes, they would still be alive if Homeboy hadn't ordered the hit. But also, they would still be alive if he didn't take it. And I don't know, man. I'm not there are very rare cases where I'm like, uh I'm not anti death penalty, but I just feel like the death penalty to me should be reserved for like the most heinous kinds of crimes, like, you know, crimes against children, things like that. Like, I want to see some heinous stuff um for you to for the death penalty to be asked for. But so I think so do I kind of think that's a lot for this? Yes. But I also don't think that 30 years is enough because he's 20. So he'll be out. He'll get out at 50. He'll get a chance to live a life. He'll get a chance to live a life that he denied Susan. Excuse me. He'll get to live a life that he denied the woman he killed. He'll get to see a life that he took away from Chris's father. I don't know. I don't know. I'm always worried about that. And then like I'm also like, if I'm on a jury, do I really believe the hitman? Like, am I supposed to think the hitman is a credible witness? Like, but he's all you got. He's all you got. Like, I get it. I get that he's all you got, but he's not a credible witness. That's somebody I would consider a credible witness anyway.
2010, Chris and Chris alone stood trial for the murder of Susan Sutton and the attempted murder of John Sutton, his own parents.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Okay.
shrouded in black, the gunman left his car and headed out into the stillness of a Sunday night. Down the tree-lined streets of Coral Gables, in the shadow of the country club where he had parked his car, and set out on foot towards his targets a few blocks away. Across the...
Okay, real quick. The opening statement, it's getting. I'm interested. I am captivated. I like her tone. I like her the way she's walking around the courtroom. She making me follow her. The way, like, her voice. Here for it. Love it. I like the tone, the era, the aura of this prosecutor. I like it.
The waterway, left on Orduna Drive, 2 houses down, on the right,
I also love that she ain't got no notes.
4725.
He doing
A
this from the dome.
9mm Glock semi-automatic pistol stuck in his waistband. He was a man on a mission to murder John and Susan Sutton. Well, once the defendant was taken into custody, he was brought to the homicide office at the headquarters building, and he was given his Miranda rights. He was told he had a right to remain silent. He was told that anything he said could and would be used against him in a court of law. He was told that he had a right to have an attorney present, and
I hope
that
he shows
if
his
could
defense
not
too, 'cause I
afford
wanna
an
see
attorney,
the
one
defense
at that time or at any time, one would be provided to him free of charge. The lead detective, Larry Bellew, told the defendant some of the evidence they had against him, that Garrett Kopp had given a statement incriminating him, and that his girlfriend, Juliet Driscoll, had also given a statement to the police. The defendant's reply? He burst out sobbing, put his head on the table, and said, "I'm fucked."
That's an incriminating statement, you idiot. Oh my God. Okay, because, bro, when they say anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. Yes, sir, you are indeed effed. But you didn't have to tell them that. Because then if you don't tell them that, she doesn't get to put that statement in her opening. Oh, Jesus. Jesus. And then you have the audacity to put everybody through a trial when you knew you were effed. And you have the audacity to want to put everybody through a trial. Jesus Christ.
It was a circumstantial case. Only words could be used against him.
Yeah,
really,
fair.
that he was involved.
Mr. Cobb, did you shoot to kill Susan Sutton?
Okay, so they know that he called him, which means they do have phone records. They have some kind of phone record. So, how circumstantial is the case really? Because that's what I'm wondering. Because I've also been really into watching like opening statements and stuff, and what is it called, just court proceedings. I've been watching a lot of trials and court proceedings, and I watch a lot of them with Emily D. Baker. She streams a lot of them, but also just been in my own time, just being I wonder what's going on in this case or whatever. So I wonder what other records they had in the phone records. What other information, I guess is a better word, whatever evidence they had in the phone records.
Yes.
And did you succeed in killing Susan Sutton?
Yes.
With what type of a weapon?
Handgun.
Did you shoot to kill John Sutton?
Yes.
Did you succeed in killing John Sutton?
No.
And who was the person with whom you were in a plan to shoot John and Susan Sutton?
Chris.
When you say Chris, do you have a full name?
Chris Sutton.
Did the defendant propose to you that you two...
Okay, and also, I know I'm talking a lot. I know I've made this 27-minute video be a hour-long reaction, I know. But my next question too was, it just comes when it comes to believability, right, with the jury and the jury believing the statement. What? I don't know, man. Especially if I know, because I'm sure if the defense is worth anything, right? The first thing they're going to do is bring up his criminal past, because that's fair game, right? He's got convictions, that's fair game. So the first thing they're going to do is bring up his criminal past. And I'm sure they're going to try to, I don't know how successful they could be, but they're going to try to bring up the fact that, he may held a grudge against Chris, right? For the whole fake drug incident, right? And if they are able to do that, if the defense is able to do that, I think, there we go, first row done. But if the defense is able to do that, I think they're going to have a decent case for why homeboy is not credible, not a credible witness. It feels like Chris is gonna get convicted though, but I don't know. This face right here, this face is not giving trusting. It's not giving somebody that I should listen to.
Should kill John and Susan Sutton as a way to get money?
Yes.
The motive was inheritance. They had a lot of money, and that's not even counting the large house, the cars, and the boat. And then, to cap it off, revenge was also the motive. Revenge for the years he claimed they had stolen from him while he was living on a rock in the Pacific Ocean.
Oof. Now, there came a time when you were at the program when you figured that you would leave at 18, correct?
Yeah.
And you wanted your independence, correct?
Sure.
Okay. He took the stand? Okay, I was bro, I was not even paying attention. I thought that they were just zoomed in on him sitting at his table with the defense team. This dude took the stand. Hey, honey bunches. Hey, honey bunches. Where have you been off to? You been on the patio? Here we go. Why? Why would you take the stand, sir? Because, bro, and this is the same way I felt in Murdaugh's trial. I feel like when the prosecution doesn't have any direct evidence on you, or their like case is like real spotty, why take the stand? Because you allow them to clear up all those questions. You allow them to be like, well, we actually weren't sure, like, you know, where you were at, what you were doing, whatever. We weren't sure about any of that, but now that you took the stand, we could just ask you. And even if you lie, which if you perjure yourself on the stand, you're an idiot. But even if you lie, the jury gets to decide if they believe you or not. Bro, I could not believe this. I could not believe this.
And then you found out that your parents had made sure that you would be forced to stay at the program after 18, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and they got a court order to keep you in the program,
which I
correct?
agree is messed up.
They detained some kind of court order.
And you were furious at them, weren't you, Mr. Sutton?
Yeah.
And didn't you tell Ms. Driscoll that your parents, you should not have been in the program as long as you were, correct?
Absolutely.
And didn't you tell her that you had been...
Shop Black Friday at Michael's now. Score great deals on thousands of items. Hurry, shop these deals today.
Welcome to Wells Fargo.
Oh,
man,
what is that?
It's everything the Bank of
Y'all
Doing
are
is
terrible.
doing.
Kidnapped, correct?
Yeah.
And you told her that you didn't deserve what happened to you, correct?
Correct.
And you told her that you were forced to do hard physical labor, correct?
Correct.
And that you were beaten?
Correct.
And that you were hogtied?
Yes.
And that you were fed with other people's feet, correct?
At one instance, yes.
And that the kids were abused at the program, weren't they?
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Look, bro. Again, I am not victim blaming. Again, I am not victim blaming. I am not saying that he should have did what he did at all. But what you doing? Okay. But I don't know if y'all can see him. He's right here, running around licking on my feet. But that is so messed up, bro. Like, these camps abuse children. These camps abuse children, man. You cannot send your kids here. You can't do it. And I do, you know, and life is complex, right? So multiple things can be true at once, right? So I can feel bad for this dude. I can feel bad for what he went through and still think that he deserves to go to prison forever if he did indeed orchestrate the killing of his parents. I can still feel that way. Did he get on the bed? Yeah. It's nap time.
Weren't they, Mr. Sutton?
Yeah.
And that you were angry with your parents for sending you there, weren't you, Mr. Sutton?
Yeah.
And that you were still angry with your parents.
No, I was still angry with the program.
Isn't it true, Mr. Sutton, that you told Julia Driscoll that your parents should pay for what they did to you?
In that conversation, yes.
But Chris was pleading not guilty, saying he never would have done what happened.
State of Florida versus Christopher Sutton. We, the jury in Miami-Dade, Florida, this 21st day of July 2010, find the defendant Christopher Patrick Sutton as to count 1, guilty of first-degree murder is charged in the indictment. As to count 2, guilty of attempted first-degree murder.
Chris Sutton was found guilty of first-degree murder and attempted murder, and he was sentenced to 3 life terms in prison, where he remains to this day, leaving his destroyed family in his wake. His once family.
The table, right in front.
The table's right there. Yes. Yes, Mr. Sutton.
May it please the court. Unfortunately, justice has been done. Properly and fortunately, justice has been done. Regardless of the result, this is a bad case. The state didn't talk about the wheel coming off my CLK AMG Mercedes. all by itself with only one lug nut. The state didn't talk about my safe being stolen from my office with my mementos from my family when the burglar alarm was turned off on March 5 or so of 2005.
And that is Chris, someone who, you know, had this revenge in them their entire lives and could just never let it go. I mean, I always wonder how you can harbor hate for that long and then look after these people, live with them, do all sorts for them. I mean, Susan and John, whether it was a good thing or not that they sent Chris away, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there. I suppose I can't really judge them. And maybe I can't judge Chris either. Well, actually, no, fuck that. I actually can't judge him because he
But I
did
say no.
kill his mother and then blind his father. So no matter how
can
much
judge
hate you
Chris.
have, pretty extreme. So you might want to buckle up there. You know, steady on, pal. Come on. But John, on the other hand, by the way, the man who testified against his own son, you know, in court, who was blinded, whose wife was murdered, and he also found out his wife was cheating on him too, which,
Oof.
well, he, like I said, he was tenacious. He didn't let his blindness stop him later. He loved swimming and skiing, and he still does them today.
Sir.
He later remarried, and he still works at the Sutton Law Firm in Miami. And I gotta say, this headline, it actually made me laugh. When asked if there was any chance of reconciliation between him, John, and his son Chris, maybe go visiting him while he's in prison for the rest of his life, well, John had some choice words. Basically, ain't happening. Well said. No mucking about here.
Dang, just ain't
And like
happening.
in all my stories,
But like, yeah.
life moves on, for better or for worse. That train don't stop. Shanae. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here with me, watching this whole video. I hope you found it as interesting as I did, because it's pretty wacky.
Yeah.
Is that the best word to use? I don't know. But, hey, you know, please check out Twitter. That underscore chapter on Twitter. That underscore chapter on Instagram. And you can check out Patreon, where there's exclusive videos, early access videos, and a couple other bits and bobs. But, you know, that kind of wraps it up. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. All the things. And I will see you as always real soon in the next one. But until then, please look after each other, look after yourselves, because I love you. Mike out.
I don't know if I want to watch this. I was thinking about it, but this one might be a lot for me. I do love bows. I do love bows. But would that be like weird to, if I am watching, I as a reaction am watching a reaction, the little killers hunted everyone around them. Ooh. I don't know. Tracy. Let's go this one. Let's do this one. We're gonna do this one. Like
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this whole video, we are talking Tracy. Tracy Richter. You know those people who just kind of, make your skin crawl? You just see them and you're just kind of like, ugh. Even though they seem like, you know, grand, nice folk.
Absolutely.
This is one of those. It is to Early, Iowa that we shall go. I mean, it's set in modern day. The town's called Early, so, you know. And we will learn all about the character, and she was quite the character. That is, still is, Tracy Richter. So, do you, like, want to give it a go? To Early, Iowa we go. And what can I say about Early, Iowa? Not much. It is a community of under 1,000 people, mostly working in agriculture, like we recently talked about Todd Mullis. Same kind of stuff, really. Mostly farmers and that kind of stuff, everybody knowing each other's beeswax. Tight-knit. So then, when on one evening in December 2001, shots rang out in the home of a family of 5, well, that tends to get noticed. I think it would be noticed anywhere, to be fair. That's when, the usually unlocked doors of the houses in Early went...
I'm so sorry.
Somebody came in the house, and they tied her up, and they were choking her. My mom got to the gun and shot the other one ran off.
There had been a break-in, shots fired, and a body bag needed. The home was of the Roberts family, made up of Michael, Tracy, maiden name Richter, Bert from Tracy's previous marriage, and then boy Noah and girl Mason.
I mean, that's a good-looking family.
When the police and EMTs arrived, they entered a scene of crying and screaming. Tracy and the children were safe, thankfully. The man of the house, Michael, he happened to be out of town. And, well, on the floor was a familiar face. It was 20-year-old Dustin Weedy, a neighbor of the Robert family. He had been shot 9 times, and he was beyond saving at this stage. Hey. Tracy, in shock, was taken to the hospital for breathing difficulties, but she was able to tell the police that she'd been attacked by intruders and that she'd been choked out with a pantyhose. So, what the hell? Dustin, he had a really good relationship with the Roberts. He would cut their grass for them, they would go to church together. So was he there to protect the Roberts from intruders, or was he one of the intruders? The latter. According to Tracy from her hospital bed. There were 2 men that broke in. One was Dustin, and the other, Tracy, didn't know him. He was a stranger, but she was able to give a description to the police. And they never asked for money, even though, when they were choking her and attacking her, there was expensive jewelry, about 20, 30 grand worth of jewelry all over the house. They weren't interested. Tracy said to the police that it seemed like they were there for her. She managed to grab a gun and shoot Dustin in self-defense to protect her and her children's lives. The other guy, he fled the scene and police put out warnings. And Tracy? Hero. Mama Line, you're prepared to defend her cubs. Kitty got claws. What a brave woman, Tracy was discharged from hospital after a few days. Husband Michael rushing back to her side. And the family had pre-organized the trip to Australia, where her husband Michael was originally from, so off they went.
We're still looking at several different areas. Again, we still have no clue who that second party was in the house that night.
Now, while they were, down under, the investigation continued. I mean, they had Tracy's story, and it seems to kind of match up, but they just needed to, cross the T's, dot the I's, and, well, a couple of things didn't exactly jive with, self-defense, really.
Oh, no.
There were 9 wounds on Dustin's body, 9 bullet holes, from 2 different guns. 3 of them were to the head, and the angle was from above. Okay, that's interesting. But Tracy, she had her story and she was sticking to it. Her truth, if you will. Hey, that's my truth. You better believe it, sucker. Her truth, not the truth. Not long after the murder, Tracy went to visit the publisher of the Storm Lake Times, a local paper, and was like, all right, I got a good one to tell you. She was mad to tell her story to anyone and everyone who would listen, I guess I am kind of a hero, haven't I?
Hey, I just
And she
killed
told
a guy.
exactly what happened.
Okay, bro, I wish. I don't actually. I kind of do because I feel like it would make the stories more interesting if, killers weren't so stupid. But then, the killers that aren't that stupid also don't get caught. So, I don't know, man. Stupid killers, obviously. stupid killers get caught. But Jesus, like, can y'all just pretend to like to not like have wanted to kill this kid? Like, you couldn't pretend?
On the 13th of December, at 4 p.m., Dustin popped over. He lived very close by. She said she never felt comfortable with him around, but, he was just hanging out. She was saved by a friend not long after who arrived, and then Dustin left. However, the friend, Marie, she was supposed to stay the night. Both their husbands were out of town on business, but due to some problems and some baseball scheduling with her son Bert, blah blah blah, her friend left. Then, that same day, the 13th, at 6 p.m., Tracy was bathing the youngest, daughter Mason. She heard a noise downstairs. She thought, Michael home early from his business trip, maybe? Nope, it was Dustin and some other guy, and they were pounding up the stairs. She ran with the baby and managed to put all the kids in the same room and lock the door before she was dragged away by her ponytail. They grabbed her and she tried to run to the gun safe, but she was choked out by pantyhose and went unconscious. She awoke to her kids screaming, the two intruders outside trying to kick the door in. Tracy was fucked hazy, her specky's gone. But then, her Richter sense kicked in and she cool as a cucumber, went to the gun safe, tried to unlock it after failing multiple times, and the two intruders obviously didn't give a shit. Then she managed to get the gun out. Whack, whack, whack. She then got the other one, have some of that. She started blasting. Didn't take long, Dustin was dead on the floor, the other guy fled.
There's this person who's still out there, and
oh, no,
as a mother, I
sis,
have a natural instinct to want to protect my children.
And son Bert backed up everything Tracy said about what happened. Though, as we will learn about Bert...
Not the camera interview. Child. The camera interview. I'm not gonna lie to you. Every time I see one of these, because I watched Chandler Halderson's interview, like when it happened. I guess I listened to it because he didn't come on camera. He just gave the interview over over recording, right? Anytime somebody goes missing or somebody's murdered and like their significant other gives a like press release or interview or anything like that, I'm always immediately like, oh, you did it. Because I'm just like, I don't know, man. If somebody close to me was brutally murdered, or I guess in this case they weren't close, he wasn't somebody close to her, but like, I don't know, if anybody near me, maybe near me is a better way to say it than close, but if anybody near me is suddenly killed, I'm not gonna be like, I just have to go talk to the media. Like, I just don't understand, bro. Like, it's so obvious. It's so obvious. Lordy. Okay, but also I need to go take a little bit of a break so I can go get a clip that's not going to keep getting tangled in my hair. So I'll be right back. Hello. I'm back. Let's get back into these.
He loved his mother a lot.
Got the bat out and I was holding it. Somebody ran in my room. I put my bat up and they opened the door, but it was my mom and I nearly hit her, but we missed. I mean, I didn't.
He sounds
I won't,
young,
she
though.
had,
He sounds like a
pain
little.
around her arm, so I know I can't die.
He sounds like a little kid, though. Like, he doesn't. I guess, like, when they were, like. I don't know. I guess they were in my head, the kid sounded older. He sounds like he's, like, 11, 12, maybe.
I'm tired.
That was her story? Buy her a beer. I mean, that was her story, kind of, for a bit, because maybe it'll change slightly. Let's learn a little bit more about T-Dog, Tracy Richter. Her backstory, there's a lot in it, and we will learn that the shooting of Dustin Weedy was just the latest in a long line of instances. Tracy, she was just, always up to no good.
Oh no, Tracy?
We're EF Ultimate Braid, the best way to see the world for anyone 18 to 35. And early access to our Black Friday deals is on.
Tracy was born in May 1966 in Chicago. She grew into a pretty smart girl, so much so that she got a scholarship to study radiography. It was while studying that she met John Pittman III in 1987, and John fell head over heels for her. John was studying to be a doctor, and the two hit it off so well that they soon were engaged. The couple moved to Denver, where John started his residency, and the Pittman family lived nearby too. Tracy was just everything that John was looking for, in a woman. Kind of weirdly so, to be honest. She was sharing all the interests John had. But as soon as the I do's were exchanged in 1988, Tracy changed. And she changed John to an extent. See, what happened was, John's parents, they lived nearby, and when one day both of his parents, their credit cards were stolen, right? And thousands were spent. Well, investigating, all signs pointed to Tracy. But John, no way, Jose, which then led to him kind of being separated, divided from the rest of his own family. John was then all Tracy's. All Tracy's when he was around. He was a doctor. He worked about 120 hours a week, which in turn then led to fractures between him and Tracy, and fights erupted all the time. One time they had a fight that escalated to the point where Tracy went upstairs, got a handgun, walked downstairs, pointed it at John. John said, "Fuck this," and he ran outside. While outside, he heard a single gunshot, and then Tracy walked out, apologized, and said she had tried to kill herself. John then called the police, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, to put that. Yeah, you gotta put that mess in writing.
Tracy was charged with the discharge of a firearm and sent for a 6-month psychological treatment. Not long after, the couple had a Band-Aid baby.
I will say though. Wait. I ain't never heard that term, a Band-Aid baby. Not the Band-Aid baby, but that's definitely what that was, 100%. But dang, I forgot what I was about to say. But yeah, dang. Well, congratulations to her, and I'm assuming this is the Band-Aid baby. Oh, I'm stealing that.
Bert, born in 1990, hoping this would help the marriage, but nope, nothing really changed for poor John and poor Bert. But John, he had a feeling Tracy wanted to increase his life insurance policy. Okay, odd. And he worked long hours, so Tracy would be, she could be up to anything when he was not around. So John hired a private investigator to, have a go at her. Tracy was busy. She just liked dudes. Like a lot of dudes. Some, were up to no good. In 1992, John eventually moved the family again, this time to Chicago. Tracy was off the walls at this point. During the process of the move, their 3 dogs and 4 cats somehow got sold to an experimental lab. Tracy was responsible for organizing the pet moving. And then the last straw broke the camel's hump. This is some scary shit. One day, while at work, John got a call from Tracy. She was like, listen, I need to talk to you. Let's meet at the apartment. John said, okay. Not long after that, he got a call from the private detective who was tailing Tracy. John tells the private detective Tracy wants to meet up. And the PI says, that's not a very good, smart, you're a doctor, idea. Because their apartment was on the east side, and the PI was tailing Tracy west. John wisely didn't go back to the apartment, even when Tracy called him saying, I'm here now, where are you? After that, the marriage was over.
Yeah.
Who knows what was waiting for John back in his apartment?
Oh,
Maybe a lollipop. The divorce was finalized in 1996, but the shitstorm was not over. The custody battle for young Bert was on. Tracy would accuse John Pittman of sexual abuse, child abuse, all that. The accusations were, found to be what they were, false. And it was also learned that Tracy had forged John's signature on the life insurance document, so, well, hey. In the end, though, Tracy got Bert, and John had to pay her thousands of dollars per month in child.
I don't understand how, she's forging paperwork. That's a crime. It's a crime to forge that paperwork. And she still got custody of the kid. Interesting. This is sometimes it's I just don't understand why. I don't understand why sometimes the court systems, it feels prioritizes maintaining a relationship with the mother over maintaining a relationship with the father. And I just don't get that. I don't get that. Especially when especially I'm for real, because I'm not one of these people. I'm not oh yeah, the mom is always evil, those weirdos. I think anybody can be a bad parent. It is not exclusive to one parent. So but when you have one parent that is forging paperwork and committing crimes, why do you choose to still leave the child with that parent? I think that shows that the parent is unfit. But that could just be me. I could be wrong.
Child support. Not long after, Tracy met someone online, Aussie entrepreneur Michael Roberts. They hit it off. I mean, really, really hit it off. 18 days after they first met face to face.
Stop.
They were married.
Stop.
Michael would move from a...
Stop! Okay, wait. Alright, now hold up. Hold up. Now, here's a twist. And I wonder if Mike's gonna get into it. I could just not speculate and just watch the video, but you're on my stream, so we're gonna speculate. I wonder if homeboy wanted a green card. That's why they were married 18 days after they met. I don't know. And maybe it's because I would rather live in Australia. I would love to live in Australia. It seems cool. Y'all seem cool down there. The only thing that would really keep me from moving down there is y'all got spiders the size of cats, and I really just can't be messing with that. So I wonder. Just just a thought. Not accusing him of anything. Just a thought. Just something to think about.
Australia to America permanently because he was just crocky about Tracy. You can probably tell where this is gonna go. Yeah. A few months in, trouble was once again brewing. Tracy cheated. However, he stuck with her and stood by her through the custody battles with John. Michael.
Okay, I will say, just to give credit where credit is due, Tracy a good-looking woman. Okay? Period. But she got them eyes. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're too young to be here. She got the eyes. But I don't get people though. It's why go through the point of getting married? Why go through the paperwork getting married? I'm sure it was for one of you guys' financial gain, I'm sure. But why go through all the hullabaloo of getting married and all this rah rah and everything just to cheat on that person, just to not be faithful, to not maintain a relationship, to not do what you're supposed to do? I truly don't get it. Just stay single. It's more fun that way.
Roberts had only, one opinion of John Pittman, an opinion molded by Tracy. Around the same time, Tracy was busy. She was always up to something. She also managed to accuse a dentist, a former boyfriend, Joseph Laspisa, of sexual assaults. She accused him that one time while she was under, he was doing all that. Basically, she woke up and he was wanking on top of her. And she tried to sue him for $150,000. Even at this early stage, Tracy proved to be not the most believable person.
Okay, one thing. I don't know what he's about to say. One thing, right? Just because she may lie in a lot of phases of her life doesn't mean she lied about this. Now, I would say I'm the kind of person who is I don't believe everybody in the sense that like oh, we should just believe every allegations and not do any research and not figure anything out. I'm going to always believe the person that comes forward until evidence comes forward that no longer allows me to believe them. So, like, I would need evidence on this specific scenario. So, like, I would believe her on this specific scenario until evidence came forward, so I couldn't believe her. So, I don't know. It's just always, it's a complicated thing. But yeah, I'm team like I'm team trust and verify. Always trust and verify. So yeah. That's me. We'll see.
Well, this still cost him his livelihood. So, right, eventually Michael and Tracy, the Roberts, they moved to the town of Early, Iowa. Why? In 1998. The last, decade, really. Pretty busy for Tracy. She didn't really like wasting much time, so I guess when they moved, maybe Michael was hoping, well, maybe, there's not much she can get up to in Early, maybe that'll calm her down.
Nah, he said there's only 1,000 people here, so if she's cheating on me, I'm gonna know exactly who it is. That's what that was. That's all that was, honey. Yeah, if you're not actually gonna be able to forgive your partner once they cheat on you, just leave them. Just leave them. It'll be, and go to therapy and heal. It'll be better for you, better for everybody. Love yourself. Take that break.
Boy, was he wrong. Soon after the move, they welcomed their first child together, a boy, and then in 2000, a girl. They set up their own business, an IT company, and became part of the community and the church. They were well liked by the people of Early. Everything was picturesque. On the surface, anyway. And then came that fatal evening of December the 13th, 2001, when Tracy Roberts, became a hero. She became a hero for killing neighborhood boy Dustin Weedy. Now, Dustin was a quiet kid, loved computers. He was a loner, gentle, but not someone you would think would do what he had done. So now we're back to late 2001. Michael, as I said, he rushed back to be at Tracy's side. He even offered a $10,000 reward for information on who Tracy, who was this other guy who broke into the house with Dustin. But Michael, he was shocked that this happened. He considered Dustin a friend. Why would he do this? Tracy said, that this didn't seem like it was about money, that it seemed like they were there for her. This was just murder. But why, Maybe there really just is nothing to do in Early. Or maybe somebody put them up to it? What if Dustin had been hired to kill her? This was a contract killing. He mentioned this to Tracy. What about that dentist, Joseph Spiesa? There was a court case coming up about her accusing him of sexual assault. Maybe he wanted her gone. Tracy said, that's good, but I got one better. I know who this was. I know who put Dustin up to this.
Picture this. You're waking up early to a blaring alarm clock.
Ex-husband John Pittman, her nemesis. See, Dustin's car had been parked outside the Richter home. He was just, popping in to kill her. Just take a second. Inside Dustin's car, they found a pink notebook. In the notebook, Dustin wrote of a mysterious fellow, named John Pittman, who had hired him to kill Tracy and 11-year-old Bert. Now, it was written in Dustin's handwriting, so, okay, it was him, but, what? Dustin and John, would never have met. And even if they had somehow met, why would John Pittman hire Dustin, a 20-year-old loner computer kid, to kill his ex-wife? Doesn't make sense at all. The police thought the story smelt like shit, but Tracy, she was sticking to that story. Tracy was happily pointing the finger at her ex-husband, John Pittman, and everybody lapped that up. The media, she even appeared on the Montel Williams show. Unfortunately, don't have a clip. Well, the police just thought everything was very fishy, and none of this added up. Eventually...
Am I about to, show that I'm, really, what's it called? Socially ignorant? Who is that? I don't know who that is.
Though, there wasn't really enough to go on, and it was closed as a self-defense, shooting,
Dang, they just
case closed.
The case?
Tracy stayed married to Michael and life went on. But as you've seen so far in the story, it won't stay boring for very long.
Of course not.
Roughly a year after the shooting, on Thanksgiving Day 2002, a man was discovered unresponsive at a graveyard near Early. It was Brett Weedy, Dustin Weedy's father. He had shot himself by his son's final resting place.
No.
He left a note saying his heart was broken after Dustin's death, and he cried every day. More tragedy for the Weedy family. But they wouldn't roll over. In late 2003, they filed a wrongful death suit against Tracy. It was dismissed, however, in 2005. In the meantime, Michael and Tracy's marriage went south. Tracy had more affairs, they fought, same old story. She kicked and punched holes into walls. Of course, Michael, would be the one ending up in police custody after these fights, where Tracy would come to his rescue, taking him back from the police, taking him home, where the cycle can continue again.
That is abuse. Okay? Let's this whole I'm going to call the police and get you arrested, and then I'm going to come and get you. This whole go get them and then come back thing is messed up. It's messed up, and it is abusive. It's abusive to do that to somebody. You should never do that to somebody.
Michael, after a time, believed his time was running out as long as he was with Tracy. He thought on multiple times she came very close to ending him.
Ooh.
Around that same time, Michael began to severely...
It's another thing, too. If you're convinced, especially your significant other, is out to get you and that your life might be in danger, please leave. Please leave. Please, please, please. Even if you can't leave immediately, start a plan. Talk to somebody. Somebody will help you. Somebody will help you get out. Please, 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 please leave. I promise you, you'll be okay. I promise you, you will.
Doubt Tracy's version of events during the Dustin Weedy shooting, and he went to speak with the investigators.
He said that we had no other than her statement, no indication that there ever was a second guy.
Haven't you got forensics to back that up?
Not yet.
Really?
Absolutely nothing.
See, I don't know whether to believe you guys or not.
They ran fingerprints, no straight fingerprints to indicate a second guy.
I wonder why they're telling him.
In 2004, Michael, like John, had enough. He filed for divorce. In the meantime, Tracy, of course, accused him of abuse, of child abuse, of being just a horrible person. She's not even original. Like, this is exactly what she accused John of doing and being. But this time, Tracy had another trick up her sleeve. The attack. Tracy went to the police. Ooh, you know, actually, it wasn't John behind the attack. It was Michael. Michael, who just so happened to be out of town when it happened.
Jesus
what more do you need? Tracy told the police that Michael, he talks in his sleep. Get a load of this. And he just spilled the beans. He told her everything, you know, while he was asleep. There you go. He confessed. She would tell anybody who would listen that Michael was responsible for the attack. He's the one who put Dustin and this other intruder up to it. And that he was a crazy person. He was crazy.
What about the notebook?
In 2007, the divorce was finalized. Tracy, despite Michael's best efforts.
But what about the notebook? Like, what about the evidence that so clearly pointed to your ex-husband? And are we also trying to say that that was planted and that, you know, you killed a kid, bro. You killed a kid. Jesus. I know he's not actually a kid. He's technically an adult. But I just look at anybody before the age of really like 25 as a kid. You're still figuring life out. You don't know what's going on. Like, ugh. Lordy. Okay. I'm sorry.
Efforts got the kids. From there, Tracy took the kids to Omaha, Nebraska. Michael, he moved not too far away, you know, to try and be close to his children. He would end up needing a restraining order against Tracy. See, Tracy was gonna ride him the entire way. She went to the sheriff, right, in 2009 and had a picture of Dustin's body. And she said Michael planted it in her car. He was trying to drive.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That is so heinous. That is so heinous. That is so heinous. He's a kid. I know he's 20. He's not a kid. I know. He's a kid. He's a kid.
Drive her crazy. Now, Michael was cleared. The sheriff's office found no supporting anything against Michael, and they thought that Tracy Richter was trying to make reports against him because there was upcoming child support like proceedings. They were looming, and she was basically just trying to screw him over. Tracy, you know, seeing that the police weren't interested in basically nailing Michael Roberts to the wall, she told the lead detective that he had, and I quote, made her list, so better watch out. Around this time, she'd also get convicted of welfare fraud and get probation. Now, this is kind of a weird part, but bear with me. Around this time, talking about 2010, Tracy Richter changed her name from Tracy Richter to Sophia Therese Corina Baronin Edwards. She was living under that name, her business was under that name, and she also went around town with a British accent. Which I'm sure was hilarious. Just bizarre. So while she was, you know, busy trying to frame ex-husband number 2, Michael Roberts, for anything and everything she absolutely could, Booker shot Kennedy, you know, a new prosecutor entered the picture and reopened the shooting of Dustin Weedy. New things were discovered. Namely, Dustin had been shot in the back of the head while laying on the floor. This was not self-defense. This was murder. Also, there were no signs of forced entry. The Roberts, unlike neighbors, they did lock their doors, but their doors weren't busted in. They also entered without weapons. This entire scene didn't make sense. And on the 27th of July 2011, Tracy Richter was arrested for the murder of Dustin Weedy.
Yesterday, I
Law enforcement arrested 45-year-old Tracy Ann Victor Roberts for the 2001 death of 20-year-old Dustin Weedy in early Iowa. Victor Roberts is charged with murder in the first degree of Class A felony, and she is currently being held in the Douglas County Jail in Omaha, Nebraska.
A mother of 3 is jailed for murder tonight in Omaha.
For a shooting that happened a decade ago in central Iowa. Take a look at Tracy Richter Roberts. Her ex-husband gave us this picture. In 2001, she told investigators that she shot a home invader.
Well, now the Sac County Sheriff's Office says new evidence proves otherwise.
Investigators believe the shooting was premeditated murder.
When you signed up for pet insurance, you didn't sign up for... Get pet insurance you actually understand. Get Lemonade and sign up for really protecting your 4-legged family members. With policies you can customize to suit your pet and your budget, half of claims getting handled instantly, and saving up to 90% on vet bills. Sign up for insurance you'll love at lemonade.com/pet. Lemonade, changing insurance, starting with everything.
My hands were
She's a divorced mother of 3, recently engaged. Now, Tracy Richter Roberts is a murder suspect. 10 years ago, she told authorities she killed Dustin Weedy in self-defense at her home in early Iowa. Now, investigators...
See, and this is the thing. Look at this. Like, you killed... Like, this dude looks like Harry Potter. Like, you killed a kid. Like, I just want to know why. I want to know at least, like, what's the prosecution's theory of why? Because, like, obviously she's going with the whole, like, oh, he broke in and I had to defend myself. But, like, what's the oof. Already, okay. Sorry, I got lost in my hair. What's the tea? What's the tea here? That's what I'm wondering.
Investigators believe she planned the killing herself.
It was obvious that she made every
and
attempt
then his
to think
father
things
took
out,
his
and,
life. Like, oh,
was very calculating in how she handled all her affairs.
The arrest complaint says Richter Roberts deliberately shot 20-year-old Dustin Weedy with 2 separate handguns, and that a piece of evidence was found in Weedy's car following the murder. Investigators believe she manufactured and planted that same evidence in Weedy's car to make him look like a home invader. The sheriff says only investigators and Richter Roberts know the details of that evidence.
Richter Roberts accused her ex-husband and father of her children of planting a crime scene photo from that Iowa murder in her car, she said, to make her look bad at a custody hearing. Well, the whole story raised red flags for investigators.
He just had
not that photo, not you coming in and making up that story about that photo.
Richter Roberts'
is what did you
family,
in.
including her brother, who's
That's
a police detective
crazy.
in Chicago, stand by her story that 2 intruders almost beat her to death.
We know what happened. We love her very much. She defended her family. How do you accept?
Bro, this is another thing too. Look, if my family watches my channel, hey y'all, love y'all, I do. I'm gonna talk specifically to my siblings here. If you fools, for some reason, ever kill anybody, sorry, but if you fools for some reason kill anybody, I am not talking to the media for you. I'm not. I am not about to be out here putting my life, especially like, sir, you're an officer. This looks really bad for you. I'm not about to compromise my life by talking to the media for you. Depending on if I believe you or not, depending on if I actually think that you murdered somebody, I will act accordingly. I will, if I think you're innocent, I will show my support in court. I'm not making any statements to the media. Don't that the only place that matters, the only place that matters in this situation is the court system. So whatever I have to say, I will say to the court. That is it. I don't understand like why people make these statements and stuff. It doesn't look good for him.
Set that up. I mean, it just sounds ridiculous.
Funnily enough, and weirdly enough, when they arrested her, Tracy had in her possession more name change, like documents. She was going to change her name again. This time, it would be Heidi Joanna Frostbacker, right? Unusual name, interesting.
This is also something I find odd. It's not easy to change your name. It's quite difficult. I have a friend who's going through that right now and trying to change her name. And it's quite difficult unless you get married. Like, once you get married, it's pretty easy to do. But, like, she's trying to change her name right now. And, like, she's been trying to change her name for, like, 6 months. Like, it's a process. So it's, like, also, like, so you're going through, like, the process and, like, doing all this paperwork and everything to change your name. And you're like, that's not suspicious at all. Okay. Okay.
Where'd that come from? I hear you're barking, big dog. So get a load of this, right? Heidi Frostbacker just so happened to be the same name as Michael Roberts, his new wife. So what are the odds?
She got a gray patch? That could be just because of the camera view. I'm gonna have one. I'm gonna have one too. I'm gonna have my Cruella de Vil gray patch when I get older.
The trial of Tracy Richter began on the 24th of October, 2011. This is what the prosecution said.
Nah, she got the Cruella de Vil patch. I actually really like it. I like a gray. I can't wait to go gray. I'm gonna look so good when I go gray, y'all. It's gonna be lit.
Happened.
The evidence in this case will show that the defendant did not want to lose physical custody to Dr. Pittman of birth. Will show that the defendant did not like Dr. Pittman. She had a strong dislike for Dr. Pittman. So the defendant came up with a plan to make it look like Dr. Pittman was involved in hiring Dustin Weedy to hurt her. Dustin Weedy was at her house on December 13th. There is a pink spiral notebook that he's writing in. The pink spiral notebook will contain information. It appears to make it look like a journal, although there's no dates. And in the information in that pink spiral notebook, it will show that Dustin's writing, Dustin claims that Dr. Pittman had hired Dustin to either kill the defendant and their son Bert, or to make it look like it was a murder-suicide that the defendant killed Bert and then herself. Dr. Pittman will tell you he didn't even know Dustin Weedy.
Tracy Richter bought the pink notebook. She lured Dustin over that day. Her friend turned up, so she had to make up an excuse for them to leave. Then, when Dustin came back over later that day, she held him at gunpoint and forced him to write all that stuff in the journal, saying he had been hired by John Pittman. Then she killed him and planted the book in his car. Dustin was shot in the head for the last time 10 minutes after the previous shot. Tracy wanted to make sure he was dead before the police arrived. Tracy said she was choked out by pantyhose. Yeah, that didn't match her injuries. She just made up everything.
Verdict form number 1, we the jury find the defendant, Tracy Ann Richter, guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree. Is that your verdict? Does the defense counsel wish to hold the verdict, hold the jury?
You'd think it'd be over, right, when she was found guilty on the 4th of November 2011.
Of course not.
Nope. She's got more shit up her sleeve. On the 5th of December 2011, Tracy was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I've gone through every what if in my head and every possible scenario on how things maybe could have ended up differently. I do believe that you deserve justice. I really do. But
I didn't murder your son.
In prison, she became best buds, pen pals, with a convicted child rapist named Jim Landa. They wrote creepy letters to each other, and in one letter she sent him, she gave him enough information to be able to find Michael Roberts and her own 2 kids, and was basically like, well, if something happens, you know, wink wink. She also tried, like from prison, to destroy the reputations of those she said wronged her. There was a site called Rip-Off Report. It doesn't seem to exist anymore, but basically a person can publish a complaint which then stays up. If the accused person wants the complaint to be removed, a $2,000 non-refundable fee has to be paid, and the evidence of the falseness of this complaint has to be presented. So basically anybody can post anything about anyone and make shite of your reputation. John Pittman and Michael Roberts were both highly impacted by this. Tracy's son Bert, it seems she had quite a lot of control over him. She used him as a pawn then to get information about John and Michael. As for Michael Roberts, back in 2011 he got full custody of the children and moved to California with them. His plan was to move back to Australia, but that plan was shattered when Tracy was convicted and it was ruled that she had visitation rights with the children.
Boo!
Then in 2014, after another long battle, Michael and his family successfully moved back to Brisbane, Australia. They are now, safe from Tracy. They got away. Not everybody was that fortunate.
December of 2000, Tracy assaulted me, physically assaulted me, and I told her at that point I was going to file for divorce. And 45 minutes later, I was in handcuffs. She attempted to murder me. Several times.
How did you do that?
I had been systematically drugged over a period of time, I think maybe a minimum of a week, maybe a little bit more. And I thought I was having some sort of breakdown. I was off with the fairies. I did not know whether I was in reality or a dream state. And she said she wanted to do a trust exercise with me. And I thought, that's like fall over backwards, she'll catch me. And I'm like, whatever's going to save this marriage. And she had rolled me up in a king-size cotton sheets. And when I woke up, I was in a cocoon state. And she was sitting on top of me, and I had a plastic bag over my head.
Sir.
She asked me to take deep breaths until I pass out. She would then take the bag off my head. I would wake up, and I would trust her forever because I would know that she could have killed me, and yet she didn't.
That's the wildest thing I've ever heard. If that's true, that's the wildest thing I've ever heard. Cause it's like, y'all know who Sarah Boone is? It's giving Sarah Boone. It's giving Sarah Boone. That's, Jesus.
Now, there is a movement, albeit small, that says Tracy is innocent. She is wrongfully convicted. That Michael must have told Dustin about John Pittman, and Dustin really did try and kill her. This is led by Bert Pittman, now Bert Richter. There's also another man some have said, could have been the second intruder, but he was cleared by the police, and I don't believe she's been wrongfully convicted. She absolutely destroyed the lives of many people, entire families, her own family, even, and ultimately destroyed her own life as well by bringing it all upon herself. So I guess you kind of could say, right, this has a happy ending. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this whole video. Listen, I'll see you as always real soon in the next one. Till then, please look after yourselves. Mike out.
This chick is wild. Oh, it's me. Haha. This chick is wild. Let's do Sandra Melgar. I don't think I know this one, so we're gonna go this one.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this old video we're going to look at the case of Sandra Melgar, who was sent away in 2017.
Okay.
This story takes us to Houston, where Sandra Melgar was married to Jim Melgar for 32 years.
What you
and
in for,
when
man?
celebrating their 32nd wedding anniversary,
32.
they went out for dinner, had a nice lovely time.
Okay, if she's in for murder, speculation. I don't know what she's in for. If she's in for killing homeboy, because that's usually the kind of cases that Mike likes to cover, right? If she's in jail for murdering homeboy, what did he do to get murdered after 32 years of marriage? Like, y'all been together for forever. Ain't at that point you just supposed to ride it out because neither of you are going anywhere? Like, I don't know. Like, why 32? What happened after 32 years? That's all I gotta know.
Came home, and Sandra can't remember much after that. She woke up the next day, tied up and locked in her closet.
Memory.
And Jim, her husband, was... well, but was this a bizarre cover-up, a staged scene? Or is Sandra truly innocent as many believe her to be? This case, it's absolutely fascinating. I mean, there are many things in it which could lead you to believe one thing or the other. So, let's get into it.
Come on, Mike. Why aren't we giving it a go?
Jamie Jim Melgar was born in Guatemala, emigrating to the United States when he was 3 years old. His family settled in Houston, where Sandra, Sandy McCulloch lived.
Okay.
Jim and Sandy became high school sweethearts, graduating in 1978, and they got married in 1980. Jim ended up as a clackety-clackety computer programmer. Sandra became a licensed vocational nurse. Now, Sandra had a number of health issues. She was riddled with problems, including arthritis, epilepsy, lupus, and hip problems. She would actually need hip replacements. And with all this, she ended up quitting her job. That's when herself and Jim set up their own business, doing a bit of Yale medical billing and coding. You know yourself. And over the years, they would get into real estate, owned a few rental homes. Jim and Sandy would have a daughter, Elizabeth, Liz, born in 1985. The family also joined the Jehovah's Witnesses, which is good for them, a strict enough group though, I understand. Now, people close to Jim and Sandy knew them as a very close couple, loving, friendly, would never fight at all. The police, though, would have a different opinion when we get to what we're gonna get to. On the 22nd of December 2012, Jim and Sandy headed out to celebrate their 32nd wedding anniversary. Now, their actual wedding anniversary was on the 12th of December, but Sandy, she's a bit ill that day, so they pushed it by like a week and a half. So, for the big anniversary, they decided to go to their favorite Mexican restaurant, Los Cucos. They chowed down, leaving at about 9:05 p.m. Then the couple headed home. On the way, they went into a CVS to pick up some mixers, Coke and Sprite. And then they arrived home.
They just put a number on it.
Now, what happened after that? We don't exactly know. I surprisingly, I wasn't there. But whatever happened was pretty disturbing. The next day, on the 23rd of December, at about 4:30 p.m., Herman, Jim Melgar's brother, Herman and his family popped by Sandy and Jim's. It was a few days before Christmas. They planned to have a big old family get-together. So, Herman rocked up and knocked on the front door, but got no answer, which he thought was odd. They had a pre-planned Christmas thingamajig. He then popped around the back. No dice. Now, the garage door was open, so he then entered the house via the garage door, let his family in through the locked front door, and then they heard